If I told you that much of the honey Americans eat every single day isn't actually honey at all, but a kind of chemical drama polished with a natural label, would you believe it? For decades, we've believed honey is nature's medicine, a pure liquid gold. But behind that clear, sweet-looking bottle is an entire marketplace illusion. A world where industrial processing has turned honey into a super-filtered mixture, blended with syrups, and heated so intensely that its enzymes are burned away like a medieval plague inside a laboratory. Today, we're going to trace the dark timeline most consumers have never heard of. And we'll also uncover a few rare rays of light that still survive in the middle of this storm of scandals. Don't look away. What you're about to hear may change the way you buy honey forever. And stay until the end, because I'll show you how to tell good honey from bad honey in just a few seconds, right at home. Now, let's begin with the brand that sits at the very top of the list of the worst honeys. A name you'll find on the shelves of almost every major supermarket in America. 1. Busy Bee Honey. This used to be the cheap, easy-to-find choice, showing up in every Dollar General and Family Dollar, the kind of honey that just works that working-class Americans relied on for years. But then everything changed. Testing by Food Safety News revealed that all of the pollen had disappeared. Not faded, not reduced, completely gone, as if someone decided to wipe out the fingerprint of nature itself. And this is no longer a coincidence. Industrial ultrafiltration suddenly became a kind of identity thief, quietly stripping away every trace of origin, leaving behind something sweet but soulless, without roots, without history. Busy Bee isn't honey anymore. It's a hardware store in a jar, an empty, cold, anonymous mixture where nature has been replaced by raw industrial convenience. 2. Great Value. If Busy Bee is the one who erases honey's identity, then Great Value is the more sophisticated disguise artist, turning honey into factory-made sweetness dressed like nature. A chemical product wearing a natural costume, a brand so big it shouldn't be allowed to fail. But it did. And it failed in a way that's impossible to forgive. Great Value used to be America's gentle giant, the symbol of value for every home, something tens of millions of families placed on their tables without ever questioning it. But then the truth exploded like a slap in the face. Lab results showed an HMF level of 22 micrograms, double the limit for raw honey. Meaning this honey wasn't just heated until its enzymes died. They were burned to ash in an invisible chemical wildfire. And that's not all. The mannose level was 3 times higher, the classic signature of cheap syrup being mixed in. A swap so obvious any technician would spot it the moment they looked at the report. 3. Nature Nates. It once lived through its own golden age, praised as the raw and unfiltered icon, showing up in the kitchens of almost every health-conscious American family. A wholesome, clean brand that nearly touched the emotional core of consumers. But then the shock hit. Lab results showed HMF reaching 232 mmol, a level experts bluntly call the honey cremation level. The stage where honey isn't just heated, it's incinerated. And in that scene, HMF becomes the silent arsonist, the quiet firestarter burning down every enzyme that once gave real honey its soul. Compared to the anonymous Busy Bee and the industrial breath of Great Value, Nature Nates is dangerous on an entirely different level. A wellness brand wearing a costume. A nature-themed label with a heart that's been lost for a long time. A painful paradox. The exterior remains pure while the soul has already been burned away. 4th, Good and Gather. It arrived as Target's premium promise, with elegant labels and honey names that sounded picturesque, like Orange Blossom or Clover. Good and Gather made Americans believe they were buying something purer, more luxurious, more real. But then the truth surfaced. Every single test sample contained no pollen, not a grain, not a trace. Nature erased as if it never existed. In this story, the industrial filter is no longer just a tool, so it becomes the medieval plague mask, a device that hides every sign of life, leaving behind a kind of honey that is sterile, flat, emotionless. If Great Value burns away enzymes, then Good and Gather creates a sterile, lab-polished sweetness. A sweetness perfected in a laboratory but hollow enough to send a chill down your spine. 5. Member's Mark. Once seen as a symbol of middle-class American savings, buy it once, use it all month. Convenient and economical, just like Sam's Club always advertises. But behind that oversized packaging, Member's Mark shocked consumers when 77% of honey from big box stores was found to contain no pollen at all, meaning nature had been removed from the equation from the very beginning. And then the scandal broke. Suspicions that honey from India or China was being ultra-filtered into a crystal-clear liquid to dodge tariffs, dodge inspections, and dodge every responsibility tied to origin. In that picture, every spoonful of smuggled honey becomes a round of bacterial Russian roulette, where the risk of antibiotics or heavy metals could be waiting inside any American family's breakfast. If Busy Bee steals honey's identity, Great Value burns away its enzymes and Good and Gather creates a premium illusion, then Member's Mark pulls consumers into a whirlpool of murky imports where profit stands above safety. Cheap? Yes, but cheap in the sense of bulk size risk in bulk size jars. But in a market darkened by pollen stripping, syrup mixing, and highly engineered industrial tricks, not every story ends in disappointment. There are still brands that do things the right way, quietly, consistently, and with a level of honesty that forces the entire industry to look at itself. 1. Bee Harmony Honey. Amid cold test results and factory-made honey jars being exposed one after another, there are still small, bright stories like Bee Harmony Honey. No flashiness, no exaggerated promises. This brand chooses the oldest path, letting American beekeepers do what they've always done best. Each jar feels like a postcard from a flower field, carrying the scent of pollen, warm sunlight, and the imprint of real seasons. Bee Harmony is True Source certified, meaning every step of its honey, from hive to table, is strictly traceable, with no shortcuts and no ambiguity. In a world where too many brands industrialize their honey just to move faster, Bee Harmony proves the opposite. When you do things right, honey is already good enough on its own. Rich enough, fragrant enough, pure enough to remind Americans that nature hasn't lost its voice just yet. 2. YS Eco Bee Farms. Appearing like a slower, simpler heartbeat carried across 4 generations, YS Eco Bee Farms chooses a way of working that needs no industrial magic tricks. No pasteurizing, no microfiltering, no attempts to polish nature just to fit consumer expectations. Their honey is kept exactly as it is in the hive, sometimes slightly cloudy, sometimes crystallized depending on the season, but always honest, always carrying the breath of the bees in the fields they travel through. The Spruce Eats once called it the best overall honey, not because of any flashy marketing campaign or shiny slogan, but because the quality is pure enough to speak for itself. In an era where many brands chase speed and volume, YS Eco Bee Farms reminds us of something old, but never wrong. Sometimes the simplest methods create the most lasting flavor. Bee Harmony Honey and YS Eco. Bee farms both prove that when you respect nature and follow every step the right way, honey doesn't need industrial tricks to achieve purity and exceptional flavor. These 2 brands are rare examples showing that real quality can speak for itself. Below are some simple methods you can use at home to check whether your honey is real or fake. Method 1. The water test. Prepare a glass of room temperature water and drop in a spoonful of honey without stirring. Real honey will sink straight to the bottom and stay together as a thick mass, not dissolve right away. Fake or syrup-mixed honey usually spreads quickly and blends into the water, leaving streaks of sugar. Even if you stir gently, real honey dissolves slowly, while adulterated honey will almost disappear within minutes. Method 2. The fire test. Dip a dry matchstick or candle wick into the honey, then try to light it. Because real honey contains almost no water, the match will ignite easily and burn steadily. Fake honey, which contains water or syrup, will make the match damp and difficult to light. Make sure the matchstick is completely dry for an accurate result. If it still lights after being dipped in honey, that's a good sign you're dealing with pure honey. Method 3. The paper towel test. Place a few drops of honey onto a white paper towel and wait about 1 minute. Pure honey is thick, holds its shape, and barely absorbs into the paper. Diluted honey will quickly soak through, spread out, and leave a noticeable ring of moisture. If the stain is wide and watery, there's a high chance the honey has been mixed. Method 4. The refrigerator test. Put your jar of honey in the refrigerator at 41 degrees or 5 degrees for a few hours to a few days. Real honey will thicken and gradually crystallize from the bottom up, forming fine, soft sugar crystals. Fake or overly processed honey may separate, water on top, sugar on the bottom, or form rough, hard clumps. If the honey stays completely runny like syrup even after a long time in the fridge, you should question its quality. Of course, no method is absolutely perfect. Some real honey may crystallize slowly, and highly refined adulterated honey can sometimes mimic natural thickness. However, if a sample fails multiple tests at once, dissolving quickly in water, refusing to crystallize when chilled, and not catching fire, there is a very high chance that it's fake or low-quality honey. In a market full of misleading labels and watered-down products, choosing the right honey isn't just about taste, it's about protecting your health. With simple at-home tests, smarter label reading, and expert-verified signs, you now have everything you need to identify real honey like a true connoisseur. In the end, between the brands that have turned honey into an industrial product and the few that still preserve its rare purity, the choice is in your hands. Do you believe you're using real honey or just a polished-up imitation? If this video was helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it so more people can know the truth. For the sake of your health and your families.